All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Madhouse Unfiltered, presented by MJ Printing Graphics, our champion spotlight. I'm here with 11-time now champion Burt Myers. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing real good today.
So how's it feel? 11-time champion. You got 6 wins this year. You keep knocking on the door of Tim Brown. But forget about him. How's it feel to win 11 championships?
This one was really special. It really was. To do it the way we did it. You know, you project it coming into the night that set on the pole, lead all the laps, win the race. A lot of times that doesn't play out, and the majority of the time, the race winner and the champion are two different people.
Yeah.
And we talked about, we said we need to be the only one out there tonight. So goal number 1 was to set on the pole, and we did that, and to be able to get out front. And I knew if the car was as good as it had been the rest of the year, that we had a really good shot. But to just, you know, we had to finish, 7th, I think. For us, and as good as our car is and everything, that's not a terrible feat to try to accomplish. But this is Bowman Gray Stadium, and there's so many dynamics that go with this place. But this one's pretty special. It really is. You know, we've talked about before about wins and championships, and I told Slate years ago, I said, there'll be a day we're on the front porch in a rocking chair, and I'll be an old man, and we'll count them up. But for now, I feel like I'm as good or better as I've ever been because you learn every time you get in the car. So number 11 does sound good.
That's good. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the year that you had a 5-year drought in championships from 2019 to this year, and we talked about your mindset a little bit. Did any of that come to mind throughout this year that maybe that 11 championship was starting to get away from you? I know you started having some struggles at the beginning of the year, at the middle part of the year, after you won 4.
Yeah.
So did any of that come into mind throughout this year?
Not really. I don't think about that until y'all tell me that. You know what I'm saying? Like every year we come out, we're so focused, and you know, this is what we do on Saturday nights during the summer, but you know how we race spring and fall as well. So we're constantly going. And between me and Slate and Jason and 2 backup cars, we're constantly working, constantly just in the grind. You don't have time to reflect on what you've done in the past. Mm-hmm. It's what you're reflecting on, or what you're focused on, is what do we do to get better, to move forward, to keep the momentum going, and to keep trying to win races and championships. So you or somebody the other day said, man, it's been 5 years or whatever. And I was like, man, you know what? Let's see, 14. You're right. It didn't even hit me. It really didn't hit me because every year we've been in contention.
Yep.
And we've had the speed, and we've had everything that it took to be there. We just had circumstances that maybe were out of our control that kept us from being champions. So I don't think about it that way. I just think that our goal, like I said, I didn't think about our goal was to win a championship. Going into last night, our goal was set on the pole. Once we checked that off, all right, our goal is to win this race. Check. Now, if we win the race, we win the championship. So that's kind of the way we approach it. Like I said, I don't really think about it. I don't know if that's good or bad or whatever, but we don't really think about the gaps or what's happened in the past. We just think about, let's try to do it tonight and do it this year and do it this weekend or whatever it might be, and try to come out on top.
With all of your experience in winning races and championships, coming into this week, did you have any nerves or anything?
Yes and no. I mean, we're human.
Yeah.
And I try to be, you know, I try to be as faithful as possible. We all do. We all fall short every day, but at the same time, this week, and there are a lot of guys out there that can definitely relate to this. When you're leading the points and you're coming into the final week of the season at Bowman Gray Stadium, it can be the most stressful week of your life. Because I've said this before, it sounds kind of silly, but when you're in that situation, it's like riding a motorcycle down the interstate. 10% of your concerns are what you're doing. 90% of your concerns is what's going on around you. So you stress and you worry and you try not to. But all week this week, I just really leaned heavily on prayer and saying, you know, Lord, just please don't let me worry. I know that it's not even, that whatever happens is your will and it's not my control. So you try to lean on that. And all week this week, I was really good. Actually, one day I thought, man, why am I not worried about this? Last night, watching the end of the Sportsman race, knowing that we were getting ready to push the cars out and climb in, There was a little bit, I wouldn't call it nervous or worried or stressed, it's just anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's a sort of a positive anxiety. And I've told Slate before, I've heard, I think Tom Brady made the comment, adversity causes some men to break and some men to break records. Which one are you going to be? Because there's only two. And so once I climb in and once we take the green flag, you forget all of that stuff and you just go out there and do your job. And like I said, last night it worked out for us.
Talk a little bit more about Slate here. You had the opportunity to race with your son full time this season. What's that been like for you?
Oh man, that's been awesome. I kind of feel a little bit what my dad went through. Mm-hmm. I think we may have talked about it in our first story that you did, that I beat my dad on the outside on a restart and won the race. And in my mind at the time, man, I just beat Gary Myers. I did, maybe he didn't give me 100%. You know what I mean? And at the time I was like, no, I know he did. With Slate, I kind of maybe he didn't. Yeah. But I don't want to, the way my dad treated me and Jason, still does, and the way I try to treat Slate and my other kids is, we'll help you all day long, but we're not doing it for you. And the way I felt with my dad is I didn't want him to give me anything. If they give it to you, did you really earn it? Is it really, it's not as satisfying. So with Slate, I don't want to give him anything. If I'm behind him and he's leading the race, will I back off of him or not put as much pressure on him as I would somebody else? Absolutely. Anybody that's a parent would relate to that, not just for racing. But just to know the fact that he gets to experience what I've been able to experience. And, he's not really, I think he's happy. He's not satisfied with the season that he had, but that's a good thing. If he was satisfied, with being able to not win a race and whatnot, then might as well quit. I want him to have that fire and that passion to go get it and want more all the time. You just said I'm 11-time champion and 90-something wins, but I still want it. I still have that drive every time I get in a race car. So, but to sum it up, it's been fun with Slade and being able to flip over to his channel every now and then and to kind of pay attention where he's at. And last night he got turned around in the infield and I'm like, man, come on, Slade. And then next thing you know, he ends up with a top 10. He told me after the race, he said, Dad, I didn't tear it up tonight. So all in all, it was just the season in itself has been good. He ended up with a top 10 in points.
Yep.
A couple top 10 finishes, a top 5 one night. So
yeah, that was the night he got the lead off the draw.
Yes.
And he led a few laps.
Yeah, he actually led 6. I said, Slate, they can never take that away from you. Your name will always be in the books as leading the laps in the modifieds at Bowman Gray. So it's pretty cool, especially him being fourth generation, knowing how I felt coming up. Also, I can't imagine the pressure he's under. I was Gary's son for a long time, and now he's Burt's son. So I've said before when I was coming up, the only way to get out of somebody's shadow is be bigger than they are. So I think it won't be long, and he'll have a pretty good size to make a shadow of himself.
That was about another 30 years or so.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about his 12th and 13th championship.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about this season as a whole, as far as from a NASCAR standpoint and a Bowman Gray standpoint. It's been a very historic season here at Bowman Gray Stadium with NASCAR coming in with the acquisition, and now they're announcing that the Clash is coming here in February with some, and I know we got some big changes here coming to the track. What are your thoughts on how this season went under NASCAR's full operation?
We haven't seen a lot of change. And when you look at the history of Bowman Gray and the success that Bowman Gray in itself has had, I think that's a great thing. The old saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I can remember when I was younger, who would have ever thought that this place could survive without Ralph Brinkley, Junior Miller, Gary Myers, Philip Smith, those guys? But they did. There'll be a day when me and Tim Brown are long gone, and this place will still be doing what it's doing. Here's the difference. Drivers can come and go. The one steadfast that's been with Bowman Gray Stadium since I can remember and long before me, rules and procedures and management has been steady and being consistent. That's what's made this place successful. And I think NASCAR has, they have enough knowledge to understand that this place has kind of sustained itself over the years, over 75, 76 years. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. This place, if you just kind of leave what you have in place and kind of let everything, roll as the way it has been for so many years. I see it keep going the way it is. It's awesome that the Clash is coming here in NASCAR, that this place, this little place around the football field is getting national exposure. That Cup wants to come here and race. I have a lot of friends that are in the Cup Series, Cup World, and they've always kind of thrown out, man, I'd like to race here one day. Well, now they're going to get to. So that's pretty cool. And while we're talking about it, it kind of hit me when I said that this championship was a little more special. That's one of the reasons, too, because of NASCAR coming in and the recognition. And me and Jamie were talking about, our crew chief were talking about, he said, man, something tells me that the banquet this year is going to be a little bit more special because of all that. So to win it on the inaugural year that they came in and everything that's going on, I hope, we talked about this in the first one, too, I hope that nothing changes. And I don't think you'll see much change.
Yeah. I asked Christian and AJ this. I've already talked to them this morning as well. If you were on the NASCAR operations team here at the track, what's one change that you would make for the better here?
Transponders, man. Transponders. The thing about transponders, it's a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. So we've all been victim or hero because of a person making the call, right? There's been times where I knew I should have been in front of that guy when the caution came out and they put me behind him. There's been times that I knew I should have been behind him and they put me in front of him. So I get both sides of that. If they put transponders in, it pretty much narrows it down to going back and looking at a screen and saying, okay, you go here and you go here. The only bad part about that is when you go to transponders, unless you have multiple loops around the racetrack, you have to go back to the last lap completed.
Yep.
Well, if I work a guy for 30 laps and I pass him coming off of turn 2 and I clear him into turn 3 and the caution comes out, they're going to put that guy back in front of me. So there's two ways to look at that, but I think that transponders would kind of maybe, for better lack of words, clean it up just a little bit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, man, I just don't know that I would change a thing. I would leave the people behind the scenes that are running this show and they're doing the things they're doing. I understand bringing new people in and get them acclimated and make them a part of what's going on here. But the Hawkins family is what the original family here, the people they have in place and the people that they kept on board have done a great job helping NASCAR get acclimated. So, but to answer your question, you know me, I get to rambling about it, but answer your question, if I had to narrow it down to one thing, I'd say transponders would be a nice touch.
And kind of putting into Clash and NASCAR aside to the bit, what would you say is your outlook on the future of weekly racing here at the stadium? Do you foresee any major changes to the weekly racing?
Well, I don't know. That goes back to what I just said about what kind of changes you're going to see, right?
Yeah.
I've told the management here at Bowman Gray over most of my career, there's a lot of things they do here that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like. I know why they do it. Do I want to qualify on the pole in a 100-lap race and redraw dead last? Absolutely not. But I know why they do it. My mom and dad were fortunate enough to promote Tri-County Motor Speedway for 2 years in the late 90s. So I saw the management side of things, it's the promoters side of things. I understand the business part of racing because I'm fortunate enough to be a full-time racer. And I have to make sure that my partners financially and sponsors and whatnot and everybody involved, I kind of have to manage all of that at the same time. So I see the business side and the marketing side. Yeah. So I see all that at one time. So that goes back to, if as successful as this place is, and the car counts and the fans, the hands-on where fans can come into pits and everything of the dynamics of this place have been so successful for so long. If you go to changing things, could that change? Maybe, maybe not. But I do know this. Over my career here, it hasn't changed, and it's still successful. So I don't know that I'd do very much.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit more about last night in general here. So the stands here were packed. The fan atmosphere was electric. Talk about the fan atmosphere at Bowman Gray Stadium and how that translates to your performance inside the car.
Well,
or does it at all?
It does and it doesn't. I can remember watching some football or basketball games and even some races or whatnot whenever the COVID thing was going on and there was nobody there. And you get out and nobody cheers. And I've been fortunate enough to win at races over different series over the years, and maybe we were at a track that didn't have a great attendance that night. And I get out and I throw my arms in the air and you kind of you know, man, that kind of dilutes it just a little bit. So I tell people about Bowman Gray, whether they love you or they hate you, they're making noise. And when you get out and you can't hear yourself on the PA because of all the crowd, I mean, man, that's just a little extra. You almost feel like the WWE guy that's coming out and they play the theme song. But this place, I knew last night would be a packed house. The finale always is. But this place puts more people in 2 sections than most tracks across the country put in their whole facility. So I was watching the Olympics, one of the things about the swimming or something, and they said there's 17,000 people here watching. And I'm like, man, we put that in at Bowman Gray on Saturday night. So that's, when you put it in perspective, that's pretty cool to think about how many people come here. The fans are just as passionate as we are on this side of the guardrail. This place, the fans, the management, sponsors, drivers, crews, teams, track crew, best track crew in the country, hands down. It all just kind of works together, and that's what makes this place exciting. It's not just one piece of it. It takes the whole thing to make the puzzle, to make this place what it is, man.
Right. Now, going into last night, so you had a perfect night last night. Qualified on pole with one of the fastest laps of the year.
Man, just almost.
Almost.
I had to burp it right there. If I hadn't had to burp it right there, I think I could have had the fastest lap of the year. But that's okay. We're not going to be greedy.
One of the fastest laps of the year. You led all 150 laps of the race, and you won your 11th championship. I mean, what's going through your mind crossing the finish line, knowing that you had a perfect night here and
you just you know, you do. And somebody said, what were you thinking those last 5 laps? I'm like, no caution, Lord, please don't. No caution. Just stay green, God, please stay green, please. It's funny as a driver, and you'll know this interviewing different drivers, and they kind of all have that same mindset that the things that are going through your mind, and when you get down there to the end, there was one point during the night, I forget when it was, maybe Jamie might have said, lap 100, 50 to go, and about 2 laps later, I thought I heard something. I'm like, what was that? And I come back, I said, oh, did I hear it again? And I tried to duplicate it, so man, did I hear something? So it's funny, you'll get this from drivers. You think you hear stuff when you're leading and stuff, you think you hear stuff, or you think you feel stuff, and you start saying, man, all right, I don't need any cautions, or if you're 3rd or 4th in line, and you say, man, come on, where's somebody spin out. So you're just different, depends on your circumstance, depends on what's running through your mind. But for me last night, green. And one of the cautions was the 8 car, which is a team car. The next caution was Slate got turned around. That was another team car. I'm like, golly, man, we should have left the team cars at home. But it's just really cool. If you didn't feel that stuff, it wouldn't be worth it. You know what I mean? If it was, and maybe that goes back to the fans and stuff. Mm-hmm. That's part of it, is what makes it worth it, and what makes it exciting, and what makes you feel that fire and that electricity. And you talking about the fans, man. I mean, how many tracks can you go to in the country where they're all but leaning over the racetrack when you come by? So the love that I get from the fans and from everybody involved, just as a package, just makes it worth coming here on Saturday nights. And
what was it like for you? I know you've done it 11 times now, but what's it like for you getting out of the car, celebrating with your family and all the fans?
Oh, man,
that close to you?
That's what it's about. It's funny because I said, like I said, normally the winner and the champion are 2 different people. Yeah. So I took the checker flag, and I'm coming down the back stretch, and Jason comes up, and he revs up, and he throws his hand up, and I said, do I still go in the infield and do donuts? Because we won the race. I've got to pull over here and get my picture made with Victory Lane. I was like, do I still go in the infield? And Jamie said, nah, let's see some smoke. So I did a little straight line burnout over here, and I stopped over here, and I dumped the clutch. And normally I don't like to do that stuff, and if it wasn't finale, I wouldn't have done it, because I know what Ryan Blaney had said about doing burnouts, man. To me, and I know it's a different world, it's a different animal, and I may get some backlash from this. When I see a Cup guy dominate a race and win the race and his car looks immaculate, and then he does a burnout and blows the whole fender wells out of it, I'm like, man, to me, that's disrespectful to guys like us that put everything we've got and every dollar we've got into our cars. To destroy it doing a celebration, it's kind of like, man, don't do that. So I was really impressed when I heard Ryan Blaney say he doesn't do burnouts. So last night, I didn't do anything to cause any damage, but I knew that Tom Buzzy told me, he said, if you're going to do burnouts, because there was one night I won the race, and I kind of slid through it was the first race of the year.
Yep.
And when I went through 1 and 2, and I and the next week we came back, and my car was off. And I called Tom Buzzy, who does my rear ends, and he was like, yeah, if you're going to do burnouts, you're going to have to bring me that rear end. So I knew I had an off season to get it ready. So I did do a little burnout and whatnot last night. But just to see the expression on the faces of friends and family and crew, it just, man, last night really was. I'm kind of rambling on about it, and I think you can see the excitement. But to me, that's the part I love, is that I still have that passion inside of me that as long as I'll be 49 years old this year, and to win 11 and 90-some wins, I still want it just as bad as I did when I won my first one. So I think a lot of that contributes to the fact that when I get out, I'm surrounded by loved ones and everything. And it just, man, like I said, it was just a really, really good night last night.
Awesome. And one more question for you before we start wrapping up here. What's next? I know you got the Smart Tour going on for the rest of the year. What do you got going on?
So this coming weekend is we have the doubleheader for the Smart Tour. We'll finish out the rest of the season for Smart. I don't know that I'll run any NASCAR Welland Tour races. I love racing with those guys, but when you're not racing with those guys week in and week out, and some of the I don't want to say changes, but some of the stuff that you have to do, you have to buy extra license. So like the license that I buy here is a weekly division driver's license. Mm-hmm. When you run on the Welland Modified Tour, you have to buy a NASCAR Welland driver's license and a NASCAR Welland car owner license, and you have to buy all your crew member license. I love racing with those guys, but it's hard to justify spending that extra money. So I don't know that we'll run any of those races, but may run a couple outlaw shows. I'd love to go back up north sometime this fall if we can. But we'll finish out the Smart Tour. More than likely go to the North-South Shootout this year. So I guess that gives us about probably 10 more races that we get to do this year. So we're still not done.
I was going to say, and you're leading the divisional championship. Is that right?
I think I'm in the region. I think I'm second. I'm second. And the reason that hurts us is because Bowman Gray only runs so many weeks a year. They start late and they finish early. So I don't get the starts that a lot of guys do. And when you talk about region, I don't know exactly how many states, but you're looking at North and South Carolina and Virginia. Well, when I only run, let's say 16, 17 weeks here, and you got a guy, I think Connor Hall's leading, well, he runs across several different states and he probably runs 3 times as many races as I do. And that's nothing against him. It's just the basket that my eggs are in. It's just the way it's set up. But I think I should have a lock on the North Carolina State Championship, because I think the top 6 or 7 are all Bowman Gray drivers. So by winning a championship, that should secure that. So, man, we've had a really, really good year. We had some misfortune there at one time where we thought, man, this is not good. But the way that we wrapped up the end of the season, we were talking about it on the way here. I guess we won the last 3 weekends.
Yes,
so
right.
2 poles and 3 wins to end it out, and the championship. Most wins, most lap sled, most poles. Man, you couldn't have written it much better. And the fact that Jason finished second and we had a Myers 1-2, man, it was a pretty good night.
Awesome. Well, I'll give you this opportunity here to thank your sponsors.
All right, I don't have them in front of me, so this is going to be tough, but we'll hit the high spots. Tommy, Mary Grace, and David and everybody at Citrus Safe have been behind me from day one. Just really good people that I enjoy being involved with. We picked up Choice Automotive Tire, Backyard Leisure, PSR. The PSR chassis have been great for me the last 2 years over here. Haviland Express, NASCAR Institute, Greg Butcher Trucking, Triangle Fitness, Walkertown Girls Softball, Little Donuts, Ideal Landscaping, RE Radios, RE Suspension, MJ Graphics. I was glad to see you. I was glad to see him come on board. Mark's a good guy. He does a lot for us. He does all my vinyl and all my shirts. Right. And Bryson Brothers Aerial Solution, Bubba Speed Shop, Philip Smith, S&P Lemonade. Can't leave out the lemonade.
They're good, man.
Is anybody else? Yeah. Napa of Stratford Road. Man. Profab Headers. I got Slee helping me here. Is that it? Did I get them all? I think I got them all. Either way, just a lot of people that just different levels, obviously, but just that want to be. A lot of them love the exposure. Obviously, that's why you get partnered up. But just to be a part of what we have going on here and to be a part of this place. We talk about a lot of the stuff that I get for Bowman Gray, I'm able to use in other places because this is such a honey hole. What other place can you come to where you got a big screen and you got 15,000 people up here watching and your own flow? It's just a honey hole for exposure. So just thank you to all the partners. Thank you for doing stuff like this to give us a platform to be able to recognize those people too. So, yeah, man, this is awesome, man. I've had a good day today. Had a good day. I woke up, me and Jamie talked about it. He said, neither one of us are going to sleep. This was last night before the race. I said, neither one of us are going to get to sleep tonight. Yeah. We'll either be really, really upset or just so excited and so wired up. But we're not going to sleep. I think I fell asleep about 3:30 this morning. I watched the replay. I kept dozing off watching the replay of Flow last night and got up about 8 and went to church this morning. So, but I was ready, man. I jumped up and was ready to go just because just a great morale right now. Everything's just everything's clicking. So hopefully we can continue that into the Smart season and pick up 2 wins next weekend.